Also making news, he got his life back when he was finally released from prison after being wrongly convicted. Now, this man, Thaddeus Jimenez, is back behind bars. Prosecutors say when he got his freedom, he turned to the gang life. This is Thaddeus Jimenez in 2015 driving his brand new Mercedes, just one of the perks of his newfound freedom. At the age of 13, he was wrongly sent to prison for murder. He was released in 2009 and won a $25 million judgment against the city. But prosecutors say Jimenez couldn't shake the streets and used his millions to build his gang.
Chain swinging, big gang banging, all that. Y'all know what it is.
What say you from? A gang or don't bang, fool? I thought you knew.
Members of the violent street and prison gang known as Barrio Azteca have now been sentenced to life in prison following the notorious 2010 consulate murder. 3-year-old Jose Guadalupe Diaz, nicknamed Zorro, and 54-year-old Martin Perez Marufo, nicknamed Popeye, are both from Chihuahua.
The landscape of organized street gangs in the United States is often dominated by well-known names such as the Bloods, Crips, and MS-13. However, beyond these famous gangs lies a network of lesser-known, yet equally dangerous groups that have a significant impact on their communities and even extend their influence beyond state and national borders. These gangs, such as the Simon City Royals, Asian Boyz, Barrio Azteca, and Tiny Rascal Gang, have deep roots and complex histories intertwined with migration, racial tensions, and the fight for survival and territory. Despite often flying under the radar in mainstream discussions, these organizations wield significant power, engaging in violent conflicts, sophisticated criminal enterprises, and far-reaching operations.
Also making news, he got his life back when he was finally released from prison after being wrongly convicted of murder. But now, this man, Thaddeus Jimenez, is back behind bars. Prosecutors say when he got his freedom, he turned to the gang life. This is Thaddeus Jimenez in 2015 driving his brand new Mercedes, just one of the perks of his newfound freedom. At the age of 13, he was wrongly sent to prison for murder. He was released in 2009 and won a $25 million judgment against the city. But prosecutors say Jimenez couldn't shake the streets and used his millions to build his gang.
Y'all don't understand, we are the police over here. We are the law enforcement. We are the rule government in our own communities. Self-sovereign. True royalty. Nobody above us.
Where we at? Bitch, we out here.
The Simon City Royals, also known as the Almighty Simon City Royal Nation, originated in Chicago in 1952 as Simon City, a greaser gang named after Simon's Park in Humboldt Park. Initially, the gang influenced Chicago's street culture, particularly in the Humboldt Park area, and is recognized as one of the oldest and largest predominantly white street gangs in the U.S. By the 1960s, the Royals engaged in intense turf wars with rivals like the Imperial Gangsters, Latin Kings, Jokers, Drakers, and Bel Airs, while expanding into other neighborhoods on Chicago's northwest side. In 1969, a Vietnam veteran named Rashad Arab Zayed moved to Lakeview and united Simon City with the Ashland Royals, forming the Simon City Royals. This new group established strongholds at Irving Park Road and Ashland Avenue, and developed into a racially mixed organization, including members of Mexican, Puerto Rican, Cuban, white, and Arab backgrounds. In the 1970s, the Simon City Royals allied with the Popes following conflicts with the Gaylords, though they continued to clash with gangs like the Latin Kings, Insane Deuces, and Latin Eagles, resulting in numerous deletions, including those of notable members Arab, Tuffy, and Bimbo. By this decade's end, their territories had spread to areas like Albany and School, Southport and Fullerton, and Farwell and Clark. One notable incident was the murder of Capone, a leader of the Insane Unknowns, sparking a prolonged conflict that contributed to the decline of the Southport and Fullerton Royals by the 1990s. In 1978, the Simon City Royals joined the Folk Nation Alliance under Larry Hoover, leader of the Gangster Disciples, to unite black, Latino, and white gangs. Despite this alliance, tensions persisted, particularly in the 1990s, when feuds erupted with the Spanish Cobras and Latin Disciples, leading to a series of retaliatory deletions. To solidify their position, the Royals became part of the almighty family within the Folks, allying with gangs such as the Imperial Gangsters and Latin Eagles. Today, The Simon City Royals maintain a presence on Chicago's north side and have expanded into suburbs and states like Wisconsin and Mississippi. Although they are still predominantly white, the gang now includes significant numbers of Latino and Black members. The Asian...
Hey, my young out here, yeah. Big rolly chain swinging, big...
Marvin "Shy Boy" Mercado and his brother Pierre for 10 years hid out in the Philippines before being caught and extradited back to the U.S. last May. Both are reputed members of a Van Nuys clique of the Asian Boyz gang, a group investigators say that is responsible for a mid-1990s bloodbath that left as many as 17 people dead and many more wounded. Lieutenant Walt Teague says Shy Boy was the gang's number 2 man.
He was a very significant leader in the gang and an OG, and he was a decision maker.
Boyz, also known, is a street gang based in Southern California. Formed in the late 1980s, the gang was initially created to protect Cambodian refugees from other gangs. According to the FBI, ABZ has an estimated 5,000 to 10,000 members, primarily of Southeast Asian descent, with Cambodian members forming the core. The gang operates in at least 28 cities across 14 states and has ties to the U.S. military, where some members have exploited their positions for drug trafficking. The origins of the Asian Boyz trace back to Long Beach, California, where Cambodian refugees faced harassment from the East Side Longos gang. As a result, some members of the Tiny Rascal Gang, who had formed earlier in the 1980s for protection, splintered off in the late 1980s due to internal conflicts, creating the Long Beach Asian Boyz. This group became one of many subsets that arose from uniting various Asian gangs. In the early 1990s, the Asian Boyz Insanity, a Chinatown gang of predominantly Chinese and Vietnamese members, merged with Long Beach Asian Boyz. This merger led to the creation of the Monterey Park Asian Boyz and eventually the West Side Asian Boyz. Another prominent group, the Van Nuys Asian Boyz, formed in the Valerio Garden Apartments and later united with the Long Beach Asian Boyz. Ethnic tensions within the gang led to divisions, with the S side primarily composed of Vietnamese members and the Z side largely Cambodian. Violence has been a significant part of the gang's history. The Asian Boyz are known for their strong association with the Crips, often wearing blue and navy on the West Coast. Their style has evolved from the 1980s and 1990s West Coast trends to modern influences. In the Midwest and East Coast, members may also wear forest green, black, and white, reflecting regional differences. The gang's demographics vary widely by region, with Hmong, Burmese, Karen, and Karenni members more common in the Midwest, and Korean and Chinese members in the Southeast. The Asian Boyz have expanded beyond California to states like Minnesota, Nebraska, New York, Texas, and Massachusetts, maintaining a nationwide presence, even within the U.S. Armed Forces.
This afternoon, we now have very specific details regarding the investigation underway at the El Paso County Jail Annex. 6 inmates are now facing charges after allegedly another inmate. Documents obtained recently by KTSM state that 57-year-old Jesus Torres had for about 12 hours when he was finally located. The officer assigned to that cell block reportedly saw Torres in the lower bunk covered with his blanket, unresponsive. One of the suspected inmates is seen through surveillance video retrieving a so-called kite message or message from the outside from under the door. Video footage also from Sunday night around 7 o'clock was provided by detention personnel showing Torres being hit, punched, and kicked while 2 other inmates allegedly acted as lookouts. 2 members of the violent street and prison gang known as Barrio Azteca have now been sentenced to life in prison following the notorious 2010 consulate murder. 53-year-old Jose Guadalupe Diaz, nicknamed Zorro, and 54-year-old Martin Perez Marufo, nicknamed Popeye, are both from Chihuahua, Mexico, and both have now been sentenced for the 2010 of U.S. consulate employee Leslie Enriquez and her husband, Arthur Redelfs.
Barrio Azteca, also known as Los Aztecas, is a violent Mexican-American street and prison gang with roots in El Paso, Texas, and Ciudad Juarez, Chihuahua, Mexico. The gang was established in the early 1980s by Jose Raulio Rivera at the Caulfield Unit Prison in Texas. Since then, it has evolved into a transnational criminal organization operating across the U.S.-Mexico border, with more than 3,000 members across the United States and over 5,000 members in Ciudad Juarez. The gang's primary activities involve drug trafficking, smuggling large quantities of narcotics from Mexico into the U.S., in coordination with the Juarez cartel. In 2008, Barrio Azteca formed an alliance with La Linea, the cartel's armed wing, to fend off the Sinaloa cartel's attempts to dominate the critical drug trafficking routes through Ciudad Juarez. Barrio Azteca's deep entanglement in the cross-border drug trade highlights the interconnected nature of El Paso and Ciudad Juarez. Many members are recruited in Texas prisons, especially undocumented Mexicans who join the gang while incarcerated and continue their criminal activities upon deportation. Over the years, the gang's loyalty to the Juarez cartel has solidified, with Barrio Azteca not only managing drug sales in Juarez but also smuggling firearms into Mexico and performing assassinations on behalf of the cartel when needed. The Tiny Rascal Gang is a predominantly Cambodian-American gang originating in Long Beach, California. Formed in 1981, the gang emerged as a means of protection for Cambodian youth who had fled the horrors of the Cambodian genocide. The United States began resettling Cambodian refugees in 1979, with nearly 158,000 arriving by 1991, mainly in California, Massachusetts, and New York. Many of these communities faced significant challenges, including poverty, post-traumatic stress disorder, and language barriers. By the mid-1980s, tensions in Long Beach intensified following a conflict between Latino and Cambodian students, leading to the establishment of TRG. The gang became known for its signature graffiti, hand signs, and distinctive street fashion. Members of TRG engaged in a variety of criminal activities, such as extortion, robbery, home invasions, kidnapping, drug and weapons trafficking, and even deletion. Throughout the 1990s, TRG found itself in violent conflicts, especially with the predominantly Hispanic East Side Longos. The Mexican Mafia also placed TRG on their green light hit lists, ordering Sereno gangs, including the West Side and East Side Longos, to target them. Despite these rivalries, TRG expanded its membership, which reportedly grew from over 2,000 members in 1999 to between 5,000 and 10,000 members and associates by 2009. Although initially formed by Cambodian youth, TRG has since recruited members from various ethnic and cultural backgrounds with a significant presence on the West Coast, as well as in parts of the Southwest and New England. Although less recognized than some of their more notorious counterparts, these gangs demonstrate the diverse and widespread nature of gang culture in America. Each organization has a unique origin story, shaped by social, economic, and cultural factors, yet they all share a common thread of violence and crime. Understanding these lesser-known gangs is crucial to comprehending the broader challenges law enforcement and communities face in combating gang violence and organized crime. Whether through territorial disputes, drug trafficking, or international alliances, the Simon City Royals, Asian Boyz, Barrio Azteca, and Tiny Rascal Gang continue to make their mark on American society, demanding attention and action to address their ongoing influence.